Our guest this evening kind of fits the theme. We're celebrating the music of Queen. We're celebrating Behind the Blue first responders. He is an American-born drummer who has played with the likes of Black Sabbath, Alice Cooper, Lita Ford, Badlands, Brian May. But from 91 to 2023, his face was painted and he was the drummer for the iconic band Kiss. It is my pleasure to welcome Eric Singer, everybody. Come on, Eric! And in true fashion, Kenny, get up here too. Kenny, make that drink.
You forgot the mixologist.
Sit down, he's coming, Kenny's coming, he's here. He knows to just get up here and make drinks while we chat.
You know Brian Slagle?
Of course I know
He's
Brian
got the best shirt on tonight.
Is he wearing your shirt?
No, he's got Thin Lizzy.
Ah.
Black Rose. He's got good taste. You had the timeline wrong though, not 91. I was in three different versions, three different times in the band. So
What happened 3 different times?
well, Peter Criss came back a couple times. So
What'd you do? Did you fuck up?
no, they wanted to make more money.
Oh, attaboy.
Yeah.
Let's get in a little bit because I think, first of all, thank you. It's pretty. It's a special opportunity not only for Monday's Dark in the space, but for me personally to be able to sit with you. You're a legend of the game, brother, and the fact that you take time out of your busy schedule to sit here on my road case means the world to me.
Well, you got to thank Brent.
Well, Fritzy
Brent Fitz, he called me yesterday and he goes, Eric, I'm going down there because he knows Queen's my favorite band, and he said the theme is Queen. They want you to come down because I played with Brian May, and with Roger Taylor and some others. Actually, before Queen went with Paul Rogers and started doing gigs as a version of Queen, they did a couple test gigs, and I was the second drummer with Roger over in Europe a couple times. So, and I almost was going to be the backup drummer, which they eventually had his son, Rufus Taylor, and then they have this other kid who's amazing that's been the other.
We literally talk about that one story for an hour.
Well, how I got the gig is pretty amazing, so we'll get to that eventually.
Yeah, we'll get to it. I want to talk about Cleveland, Ohio, because. Thank you.
That's where I'm from.
Thank you.
Are you guys from Cleveland? Which part? Which one? Okay. I'm from Euclid on the east side.
What was it, like Jerry Springer all of a sudden?
Yeah,
You want me
of
to come
course.
out and give you a microphone? You guys from Cleveland. Cleveland, Ohio. You played in a band in Cleveland. Your father was the leader of a big band, and your brother was a professional dancer. Yeah. So your family clearly was entertainment-driven, very artistic. The band that you played in Cleveland was called Beaucoup.
Yeah, well, they became that after I had already moved to L.A. Then they got a record deal after I already had moved to L.A. in '83.
And the first big, I guess we'll call it break, Lita Ford.
Right, and that was '84.
What was that like? 'Cause
Well, the thing was weird is that I remember I was working in a local band, and the guy that was trying to help our band worked at the label that Lita was on. He said, and I said, you know, I really like that girl Lita Ford. I'd like to play in her band. He goes, oh, she's got a great drummer who was Randy Castillo at the time, went on to play with Ozzy. And that was in the beginning of '84. By the end of the year, I was in her band. So it was kind of a weird thing, you know.
What was that like, though? Because you were how old at that time? Early 20s?
25.
And what was that like to get that call?
Well, somebody had seen me at a Carmine Peace drum contest, so they got me the audition. And when I got the gig, the first gig we were opening for Rat at San Diego Sports Arena, because Rat had just started doing big arenas, and you were there? Okay, and that was my first gig, and then we played New Year's at Long Beach Arena in '84, going into '85. So I got thrown right into the fire. So it was like. And that's when you realize, okay, you got to be able to like step up when the opportunity presents itself.
Listen, the bands that I spouted off, Black Sabbath, Alice Cooper, Lita, I want to talk about Brian May for a little bit. How did that come about? Because obviously we're celebrating the music of Queen tonight. Brian May.
Yeah, well, Queen's been my favorite band. And the thing was, I was in Europe in '98 doing some kind of promotional fan expos for Kiss fans. And some fan came up to me and said, hey, I just heard Brian May on the radio say that he needs a drummer because his drummer was Cozy Powell, and he had died in a car accident. So somebody got me the number when I got home to L.A., and I called up his manager, and she goes, oh, is this your number? And she reads my number off to me. I'm like, where'd you get my number? She goes, Tony Iommi gave us your number. He recommended you because I had played with him in Black Sabbath. So he's Brian May's best friend. He recommended me. And so then I flew over and auditioned, and I got the gig.
What's amazing and what I'm sort of taking from this, just so you guys know my background, I moved to New York when I was 19 and I became a waiter chasing an acting career, right? And you become tight in the hospitality community. And the hospitality community all know each other. And you go from restaurant to restaurant, you work for this chef or that sous chef. What you're saying kind of resonates because when you get your first Broadway show, you're working with this director, and then that director goes over there, and you don't do that Broadway show, and you do this. It's the parallels and the similarities are wild, and it's why I do what I do here with mental health and wellness, because we may all come from different walks, but at the end of the day, we're all still walking the same path, whether it's music, entertainment, hospitality. We're all trying to leave it better than the way we found it. And when you get to a certain level, that guy remembers that guy, and you help that guy, and you help that guy, and you just keep moving along on this thing we call life. And this is fucking wild for me. So thank you.
Yeah, I always say the world is like a chain link fence. So we're all connected on that fence somehow. It's just that you may be miles down on that fence, but we're all still on that same fence. And somehow you end up crossing paths. The friends you make, the relationships, you build on those. And then if you leave the right impression, sometimes people will think like, oh, if you, a lot of times people, you'd be surprised if people don't always know who to call when they look for somebody to join their band. You would think they would, but they don't because their circle is very small. So that who do you usually hire? Your friends. You recommend people you know, people you work with. You hire your friends.
Yeah,
So
it's
to
comfortable.
me, it's about making connections, and I don't want to just say networking.
Scared the shit out of me. I thought someone was coming over.
I told you what I like, right,
Kenny, are you getting it ready? I love it, buddy.
Kenny?
Can you talk about though, because again, tonight's music, obviously Freddie, Brian, these guys are like legends. What was it like when day one when you met Brian and you're like, we're gonna play music?
Well, we rehearsed in his house. He lived in Allerton Place. It's got a big estate home, one of these old big giant mansion English homes, and we rehearsed in his house. So I set up in the dining room. They had a grand piano in the living room, and then in the library he had all his amps because he's really loud. He uses Vox AC 30 amps, and he runs 3 of them on full blast. So on tour he'd have like a stair step metal frame thing that he'd have 3, 3, and 3, 9 amps because he'd blow them up all the time. Like he'd blow up at least, I'd say 4 to 5 amps a week he'd blow up. And they're really, he plays really loud. And he plays with a 6-pence coin, so he's got a lot of attack. So he kept his rig in a separate room from us, but we would commune around the piano when we'd work out parts, like, for example, what is it? Fat Bottom Girls. So Fat Bottom Girls has a lot of unique harmonies in the song. So everybody in the band sang, and so we would practice on our own before he'd show up. We were learning parts, and then Brian's like, oh no, you're not doing the right part. He knew every single harmony off the top of his head. And he sat at the piano and he'd go, oh no, this, because on every verse, each note changes slightly as the song develops. And he knew every part. He taught everybody their parts. So he was really cool, a very patient guy, and very easy to work with. And, we don't look at each other. Every time we'd start playing, we just look at each other and smile because he's got this tone like nobody else. It's just unbelievable.
It's pretty special. We could go on for hours about Brian. I want to talk about Kiss. Did you ever get sick of the makeup?
Yeah, because taking it off, and we always put the makeup on ourselves individually every night, except for the first time. Yeah, Paul Stanley. Oh, there's me and Gene. That's when you were doing the.
It must have been kind of COVID-y because I got a mask underneath my mouth.
Yeah,
there.
we had Brent with us, and Brent got his jersey, and
it was a cool night. The makeup, sorry.
But putting the makeup on was, I didn't know what I was doing the first time, so Paul put it on me and showed me how to do it, the step by step. From that point on, I always did it myself. And
I would have loved to have had that be a documentary. With Gene Simmons walking up to you and be like, no, you're not doing it right. You just literally had Brian May tell you how you weren't playing your instrument right. Yeah. Gene comes in and is like, no, bro, it's not right. He's painting you.
Well, I remember when Paul did it, and then Gene comes in and he goes, well, they look like, how's it look? And they're like, oh, okay. But these guys are always very, I don't want to say hypercritical. They want it to be good and want it to be right, whatever they do, because they care. Yeah. So you can take it the wrong way and think it's called constructive criticism, and people should learn to take it for that, because it's just trying. At the end of the day, the end result is people want things to be good. That's it.
Aria, do we have a picture of him in it? Pull up the picture of him with the makeup that we put up first. No, not that one. The other one. This one. Yes. This is wild, dude. Like, just leave this up.
That's 2019. I remember all the no 2009. I mean 2009. I always go by the drum kit. That's how I can date it.
I'm just in awe sitting here knowing that that's you, because this is such a part of our culture. It's such a part of rock and roll history.
It was part of my culture too, growing up.
Let me ask, because we all associate Cleveland with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but that didn't exist when you were there then,
no,
right? Because
no.
it came in when, the 80s?
Yeah, much later. I was already gone and moved away from that point on.
But it's ironic, though, that you are from Cleveland, Ohio, and you are probably one of our most legendary, iconic American-born drummers of all time, and I have no problem saying that to you, sir.
I don't know about that, but
no, I would.
But
Brian
Cleveland,
Slagle is sitting right there from
well,
Metal Blade
let me
Regal. I would
tell
think you would agree.
Let me tell you,
yeah.
We had a lot of good drummers. From Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses. He was born in.
I'm not saying there aren't other good drummers,
Heights,
but
Ohio.
you could put them on one hand, is what I'm saying. And you're that. You might. I'm not sure which finger you are.
A lot of great drummers came out of Cleveland. A lot of people don't know that they originated from there.
Oh, really?
Because they moved to L.A. or they moved to New York. And then I always say I'm from Cleveland. I'm not from L.A., even though I lived there a long time. I'm a Midwesterner, and that's my roots.
Well, I think other than, the young kid who was singing up here before, most of us in this room, there are a few of you here that are born and raised in Vegas, New York City, Los Angeles. I'm a transplant to Vegas. I call Vegas home, but I'll always tell people
Me too.
I'm from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Did you ever play the Sioux?
Yep.
I got one woo. Are you somebody from the Sioux in here? How old is she? Just making sure I'm safe. I don't want you to ask to see me at the stage door later on, because I want, it's that trick or treat, Dad.
She sounds young. We can't see you, so you have a young voice.
Just making sure. This is only 65,000 people when I was there. You never know. Everything we do here at the space is about leaving it better than the way we found it. Tonight, obviously, we're supporting our first responders and the incredible work they do in our community to keep us safe. You guys have done more as a band, and you personally, that I'm just going to say it. You don't talk about it. I know Gene does so much shit for people and doesn't talk about it. The same with you, from Make-A-Wish to kids coming backstage to kids getting guitars to sponsoring music in Africa like we talked about earlier. What is it for you that sort of gets you going and you have a passion for in the philanthropic circle? What charities do you like to support?
I mostly support Make-A-Wish because I've seen firsthand, experienced it, where we were, the band participated. One time this kid came to our rehearsal, and then I took him shopping at Guitar Center to buy him a bunch of equipment. 6 months later, his family wrote to me, and he had passed away. So you see the impact that you can do, even if it's for a short moment, in some impact on somebody's life, and it's really important. I used to give to other charities, but I pretty much specifically give to Make-A-Wish because I've seen, like I said, hands-on the end result of that. But Gene, for example, one year I was telling you before, he, instead of giving everybody gifts that they don't need, and he just said, I'm going to give you guys sponsorship to these. I sponsor all these kids in Africa. He sponsors 1,400 kids. That's every month. That's a lot. But he doesn't talk about it. He's known for being like a big braggart and all that stuff. But he's very, very charitable person and very generous. To me, when you're going to be generous, you don't talk about it and brag. You don't put that on your resume. You just do it. And do it because it's the right thing to do, or because you want to do it. You don't need to talk about it.
Before I let you go, first of all, thank you so much. I got to just ask like a fluffy question. All these years of performing, are there specific one or two memories that stand out where you're like, this is a music moment that I will remember for the rest of my life? Are there any of those moments that just pop out at you where it's like, hey, it was this concert on this day in this town? Is there anything like that? Because you've
performing personally or going to see a band?
Performing personally.
Okay.
Are there moments where you've been on stage and you've shared a moment where you knew it was a legendary, iconic moment and it doesn't have to be for us as the crowd watching, something for you where you're like, oh, that was something.
Well, going back and playing my hometown in Cleveland, the first time after I had moved in '83, and I was back in '86 playing with Black Sabbath. So that was kind of cool. All of a sudden, I'm playing the venues that I went to concerts at as a kid. So when you get to do that, now instead of you being in the front row like this, because I used to always be the kid that ran down to the front of the stage, and I'd be right, right there. So now when I see people in the front, I'm going, I was that person one day. At one point, I was that person. So.
What was the largest crowd that you ever played in front of? 80,000, 100,000?
Well, I remember I played with Brian May and Roger Taylor. It was Queen's Day in Amsterdam. One day a year they have called Queen's Day, and everybody does a yard sale. Everybody puts their stuff out that they want to get rid of on the sidewalk, or the whole city. And we played in the town square, and they did an infrared scan with a helicopter, and there was 150,000 people. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty intense.
Listen, thank you. It means
You're
the
welcome.
world to me that you showed up tonight. Give it up, Eric Singer, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.